All right, we are going to get started. Happy Tuesday. Already into October. Interesting dynamics in the market. No matter what happens in the market, we'll come back to that. There's always tremendous opportunity based on your actions, right? And Paul and I were actually down at the Calabasas office this morning and talking a lot about the state of the economy. And we had a great economist in there. But at the end of the day, it's important to understand what's going on, but it's all about controlling your actions and not paying too much attention. I mean, I shouldn't say not allowing yourself to get consumed with extraneous circumstances around you that you can't control, right? So no matter what happens in the market, there's always opportunities. So I just want to start off by saying that, which ties right into something I say all the time, and especially on social media, make it happen, right? You guys, anyone who has an interaction with me on social media, always say making it happen. And I truly believe that. Like, there's always reasons and there's always excuses, or we can decide to make it happen despite all the extraneous circumstances and the challenges that we face. And I try to live my life that way. And I think it's a great philosophy to live by, right? Which also comes back to focus on what you can control.
Not that long ago, when we were having conversations with realtors, they had a qualified buyer, motivated buyer, ready to go. They're going full price offer on a nice house, not the best house. And the complaint was, you know what, we tried and failed on our fourth attempt to buy because it went out in multiple offers and we lost the multiple offer. So they were waiting for a moment in time, like right now, where the statistic was now they're selling, homes on average are selling at 98.4% of listing price. And you can pay full price for a house that your buyer wants and get that house. And what's happening now, the reasons and excuses are different. Now my buyer's shaky and they're waiting for interest rates to come back down. So there's always an excuse to not make it happen in whatever the market is. And I think, that's sometimes what we can be drawn to. And on the other hand, there are always pathways to do great in whatever the market is. So as I always say, there's more, the national outlook, right? The national outlook might be the economy. It might be interest rates. What's happening with the economy? What's happening with interest rates? There's nothing outside that will affect your business more than what you do inside of your business. Where are you getting your leads from? How do you dig deeper? What's another avenue to successfully get leads in your business? And there's room to win. There's room to win in every market. And there's evidence of that.
Yep. So coming back, I want this to be collaborative. Commitment is unconditional. Commitment is not, when you commit to something, you're going to make it happen regardless of the circumstances, right? And you're going to be resourceful and you're going to be willing. You're committed to the purpose, and you're not necessarily committed. You remain flexible in the path to get you there, right? That's part of like making it happen and commitment. And a lot of that has to do, I always like when people tell me I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to work with this person, I'm going to work with that group. I always ask them, like, what is their track record? What have they done in the past? Because the past is often a very accurate indicator of the future, even if it's something a little bit different, but nevertheless, you get to understand their values, their energy, their commitment, because it's usually a really strong indicator of how committed they're going to be in what they're doing now. So that's a big piece to, making it happen, is that track record. Anything you want to share on that one?
That's it's a thing that, you definitely, your future is out in front of you. There's no question about it. And another thing, especially when a market is changing, that Josh and I talk about a lot, is what got you here will not get you there. Or even if you have a level of success, you're looking to do better, what got you here will not necessarily get you there. So track record really is the best indicator, but you have really all this runway out in front of you. So what are you going to do today is going to create the track record of tomorrow. For sure.
Yeah. And track record also has to do a lot with playing the long game, recognizing that what you do now does not bear fruit to some point in the future, and you don't attach yourself to the outcome. You do attach yourself to the effort and the process, which again circles back to what we just talked about, is focus on what you can control, right? There's always going to be things outside and out of your control, and things people say or do out of your control. Don't feed that. You know, we spend a lot of time and energy on that, and as opposed to really focusing on what we can control, which is the effort and the process, and not attaching. The outcome will work in your favor in the long term if you're committed to the process, believe me.
And one of the reasons that Josh and I go to the thing that we went to today, which was, you know, a guy that's really studying the economics of the market of today, really pulling out like how this is different than 2008. You know, does he expect there to be a collapse? And the answer is no. And what's all the solid evidence behind that? And what can we tell our sellers? What can we tell our buyers? These are important things. It's why we go. It's important to have that information just so that you can have an informed conversation with your clients. But to let that, you know, guide your vote is never, you know, we'll never, it's never going to create your future. The best economy is not going to make somebody who's not doing the push-ups into, you know, a super fit guy, and vice versa.
And another thing that was quickly touched on, we are absolutely in a skill-based, and it's becoming increasingly the case, a skill-based market. Like anyone can do well when everything's working in your favor. Now, you know, the dynamics are starting to change, and there's far fewer real estate agents, quite frankly, going after fewer deals, and the cream will rise to the top. And those people that are practicing, that are working on their scripts and dialogues, that are committed to the lead gen piece, that have models and systems, they're the ones that are going to get their unfair share of the market.
And there's a lag. In 2008, when we had really a huge correction, which this is very different. And again, to know why it's different is important. Some of the biggest factors are just how much equity there is in homes. There are trillions of dollars of equity in homes that did not exist before. So when someone got sideways on their mortgage, the best thing that a bank could do was get that asset immediately, because they were looking at a market to continue to go down. But if people have $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in equity, they don't want that property back, because they don't do a great job of marketing and selling it. So it's not a toxic asset when it has all of that equity. Those are good talking points to have, and to have the exact numbers. And we'll put out some of the research that we collected so that we can educate everybody on that, and to be part of what they talk about. But that's where it sort of begins and ends.
Yep. And then I talk about doers, which comes back to like what I wear on my wrist. Environment matters. Surround yourself with people that are doers, that make it happen, right? Because that will impact what you do, right? We're social beings. We are highly influenced by our environment, whether we want to admit it or not. So use that in your favor. Surround yourself with talented people who are willing to share, who are willing to engage, who are going to elevate one another, that are not me, and are actually very interested in collaborating, recognizing that it elevates everyone. And part of that is humility, right? Stay humble. The best, no matter where you are, there's always opportunity to improve. Be coachable, as I said, be committed to the purpose, and be flexible in the path, right? And part of that goes hand in hand with humility. And I think that's something that's critically important.
You measure along the way. What return are you getting on any particular activity? And the return, as Josh stated, is really, you know, the activity is the lead factor, and the making the money is the lag factor. So there can be a lot of time between activity and return, but we still have to measure what are the activities. There's a big difference between being busy and actually getting stuff done. You can be very, very, very busy for sure.
Yep.
And not creating that future. So it's up to us collectively to figure out that path and communicate the path and hold each other accountable and create that environment where just like in the last downturn, this office did year after year after year better than it did the year before. So in the high times when everybody was doing better, so 2005, 2006, maybe 2007, everybody was doing better year over year, so were we. But 2008, 2009, 2010, when all the ships were sinking, we were doing a little better each year. Staying the same would be a huge upside.
Which means a lot more market share. Yep.
A little better each year. And that's really where we came out of being a sideshow. Sorry to be that authentic about it, but from being a sideshow to becoming a major player, was that we were still moving forward when the market was going down. So if you're number one in your farm, you know what to do. If you're not number one in your farm, the person who is number one in your farm probably doesn't know what to do. And that's a time where somebody can go from number 5 or 6 or 7, like we were, to the top of that pack.
Yep. Any comments, feedback, guys? Any questions?
Yeah, Josh, Paul,
Yes.
I can barely hear Paul. I don't think he has a microphone.
I wasn't holding the mic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're great. You're great.
Okay.
That's all you need.
That's all that counts, you know.
That's all you need.
That was-
He didn't say that. Josh said that.
right. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
very important to know how to talk to buyers and sellers, because your buyers are scared, but if they're going to be in a house for at least 10 years, you know, it's a good time to lock in the interest rate, whatever that is now, 6, even 7%. If it goes up, they're locked in. If it goes down, they could refinance. And if you're in a house for at least, 5, 10 years, they're going to have some stability. Sellers, some sellers they want to maximize their price. So some are going to hold on, but the ones that have to sell, Susan Dumas just got a couple of listings, and she says the sellers are, can't afford their mortgage, but they're not underwater. There's tons of equity. So,
I just got 3 listings.
oh, see.
I
see?
just got 3
You could,
You hear Michael.
yeah. So the point is, there are sellers that need to sell. I just had a seller that, she thought she was going to sell, but she had to buy because they outgrew their house. She wants to hold on to the house and rent it out for a year and see what happens. So if she gets her crazy rental price, it'll make sense for her. She'll get the income. But, those of you that want to.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Okay, you wanted it back. I know. So anyway, yeah, but know to have the conversations with the buyers and the sellers.
Yeah, and I'm super important point that Michael makes. And when I bought, anybody that says that they can time the market, don't believe them. Don't believe the economists we talk to. Nobody knows exactly when. So for your sellers, they want to wait. What are they waiting for? Because as interest rates go up, affordability goes down dramatically, and they could really be chasing the market in the wrong direction. So that's a conversation with proof to, the amount of dollars that it takes to be in a particular house just in January now is dramatically different. And having that kind of information in front of you is very, very useful for that. And even being in real estate and investing in real estate for the years that I have, you just can't predict the market. I was maybe the last person to buy a house before the market crashed in 2008. And I was scared to death because I paid 2.2 million. And within 5 or 6 months, the house was worth maybe $1.5 million. And when you don't pay all cash, I put a big fat down payment in that was completely swallowed. And one of the things that I did, because I was nervous, was I asked my realtor friends, and my realtor friends all said exactly what Michael was saying. They'd be like, oh, I'm like, I'm nervous. And they'd be like, so are you looking to flip the house, or are you going to live in the house? I'm like, I'm going to live in the house. They go, you'll be fine.
Like stocks.
Yes. Just like stocks. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play the long
Yeah.
game. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah. Matt.
So we have to remember that we're just there to negotiate the deal. Our job is not to read the market. I mean, it's to read the market, but when you're talking to buyers, you tell them same thing. You stay there for a long. When you're talking to the sellers, you say, okay, interest rates are going to be 7%. What are you waiting for? But the point is, our job is just to make it move.
To
Listen
connect a
to-
willing
yeah,
buyer to a
make it
willing
move,
seller,
what's going on.
Yep.
I've had a lot of agents that have been doing really well call me, and a couple of them were like, I've never reduced the price on a home. And I'm like, wow, you have, then you have to go to the scripts on how do you talk to your clients about the market. Again, when I bought my house, it was like 6% was great. You're like, oh my God, you got 6%. Yes, we've had few years of low interest, but now you have that much equity on the house. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the people that didn't buy in the last 2-3 years still have tons of equity in their house. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it's like, just go back to 2019.
There's always a flip side to every
Mhm.
dynamic, and finding the opportunity in whatever market you're in, and that it always exists is the key, and we can always find that if we're educated and we know how to communicate to our clients, and we put it in the context of where they are and where they want to go. And again, how we can help them get to their destination.
And unless you're literally the last person to buy before the market dives, which I was, but it takes some special timing to do that. Unless you're that person, even though we know we're closer to way closer to the top than we are at the bottom, if you buy and then the market doesn't correct for 5 or 6 months or a year, you're getting that upside before it does. You already have some built-in equity. So that's another thing to think about. And it's just like, you know, I'm not here to sell you a house. If you are interested in buying, I can guide that. I can guide that purchase. If you people, Warren Buffett buys value, right? If you see value in this house, then you'll buy it, and I'll help you. And I'll help you with that. If you don't see enough value in this house at this particular time, don't buy. Here's a clue. If you don't buy, you've got nothing to worry about. Now, that might sound like a terrible script, you know, but I got to tell you, you've got nothing to worry about. And you also have no asset that grows over time, and you're paying rent. And where's that taking you? So,
Yep.
And your rent will go up.
Yep. So the last slide here is, you know, leadership, which is quite frankly my passion and my purpose in life is to help build leaders, myself included. Leaders by definition take initiative. They're proactive, right? They do make it happen. They're not waiting for someone else to take the first step, which is what we can all be if we choose to be in what we're doing every single day and everything we do. Certainly our businesses. Like, are you proactively having conversations with your prospective clients? What are you doing to make it happen? Nothing's going to fall. I always tell people, you know, it sounds cool and glamorous to be a real estate agent. Nothing's going to fall in your lap with rare exception. You've got to go after it. And if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe you've got a unique value proposition, okay, then people are not going to trust you. They're not going to have confidence in you. And that does not necessarily mean you need to be the most experienced with the best track record. It simply means that they need to know that you care. I always say the first person that gets in front of them that they believe cares is the one that they're going to do business with. And that does not mean the person who's done the most deals, right? So that's an opportunity for everyone, no matter what your level of experience is, to get in front of them, ask good questions, make sure they understand that you care, you understand where they are and where they want to go, and you can demonstrate that you can be the vehicle for their success. Just simply knowing that you're going to be resourceful and committed to helping them, that will take you 90% there, even if you don't have the experience. I always say, like, you know, I don't have all the answers, rarely ever. I don't. But I know how resourceful I am, that I'll find them, and people know that about me. So I may not have the answer, but they know darn well I'm going to help find that answer through the network of people I have. So just put everything in that lens, in that context when you're speaking to a client. If they believe you're going to help find that answer for them, they're going to do business with you.
And now's a great time to, if you don't already have a relationship with a lender, to build that relationship with a lender, so that you're on top of the rates. Because at this point in time, we used to really look at, like, you can look at rates month to month. And then if you were really fancy, you could look at rates, you know, once a week and you'd be on top of the market. I mean, you actually have to know the rates that day to, that's how volatile things are. And it's not that hard to figure out. You could just get a text message going back and forth with a lender, and they'll tell you what the current rates are, what the current programs are. They have them, they get them daily. You know, just say, hey, forward it to me. I'd love to give you the business when I get it. That'll be your resource in terms of affordability and what lending institutions are looking for right now.
Yep. Last piece to this and then we'll move on. Persistence. I'm just such a believer in persistence. And, you know, anyone who knows me knows how persistent I am. My son has inherited that. That's, you know, which can be, when you're on the receiving end of that, I'm proud of that, but it also can be, it can be tough. Where does that come from? If you don't believe that you're actually creating value for others, like, I firmly believe when I'm persistent that it's in their best interest to work with me. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I think I'm right a lot, you know, but that's unique to the individual. And that's what fuels the persistence, right? Because it's not about me. It's about genuinely believing that what we as an office provide for that prospective, you know, agent is in their best interest. So I encourage you guys to believe the same. And if you don't now, build enough skill set and confidence to believe that. And then that totally propels persistence.
Yeah, I'm not going to chase the commission. Yeah. I'm going to make sure that anybody that does a deal with me, that I am really their fiduciary. I'm making sure that they're getting the buy that is the right buy for them. And then you should have all the confidence in the world, because there are so many realtors out there that aren't doing that. You can really set yourself apart with that.
Any other last thoughts or Jeff?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, let's give him the,
From a buyer perspective, the biggest thing that I'm seeing with people is that they've been competing against others for a long time. Has dwindled a bit, so now they're in an advantageous position, as well as we all know that the moment people think rates are going down, the frenzy's going back up. So there's people that are just sitting there waiting. So from a buyer's perspective, it's a great time to buy. From a seller's perspective, I would say, what are your neighbors doing? Because now it seems like if there's a bunch of houses for sale, one seller is trying to figure out to reduce their price before the other guy does. It's like a game of musical chairs right now. So it's a little bit different. I'm dealing mostly buyers. So that's the thing that I would offer, and just keep asking questions. The more questions you ask and the more questions you can answer, the better you're going to do. So keep that in mind.
Yep, well said.
And you can.
May I say something? May I say something?
Yeah.
You know, I read this book, The Power of One More by Ed Milet. And since I've done this, every day I try to do one more thing. If it's not being persistent with, my sellers, I like being a selling agent, not necessarily a buyer's agent, but I will. And I do close once in a while those. But this has really helped me do one more thing every day. One more call, one more visit, one more knock on the door, one more garage sale. I go to garage sales all the time, hoping that I'll get a listing. And my gardener went to this garage sale, and he helped me get this listing.
Love it. I
And-
love it. That is persistence, and it's certainly doing the one more thing. You want to make sure that the one more thing that you're adding is something that's going to lead you in the direction that you want to go.
That's right.
Because again, that's the difference between busy and productive. And we want to make sure that we're using our time very efficiently. And the last thing I'll say before I go is back to what Jeff was saying, back to what Michael was saying too, is, when I thought about my house, I actually really did buy the 1 second before the market tanked. And I thought about another sale, which is I sold my second house in Palm Springs right at the beginning of COVID because I got nervous. And it's a second home market and all that sort of thing. I just didn't want that on my balance sheet. And of course, if I would have held on to it longer, I would have done much better. And I've done very, very well, never losing money investing in real estate. So you do not have to time the market. In fact, you cannot time the market. I know people that have made terrible buys at the right time. It's just like, if you use your skills. I sold the house in Palm Springs. I was equity positive. I'm like, I'm out. I don't want the extra. And then you look at it, you go, oh, it went up in value. And I go, oh, well, did my best. Very happy with the purchase that I bought 1 second before before the market tanked. So as skill-based realtors, you can really do a lot for your clients. You can add the value now. And I think the one thing you can't do is time the market. Somebody needs to sell, they could well be chasing a falling knife. I mean, waiting 6 months or a year is probably, you can't predict that that's going to help you. It could just as likely or more likely hurt you than help you. If you can wait 10 years, then then I would say, wait.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Hold on. All right, next slide, please. So always acknowledging the great productivity here. I'm not going to read all the names, but that was last week. This is this week. And despite a challenging market, relatively speaking, everything is relative. So I think always putting things in context, we're doing tons of deals. So congratulations to all you guys. All right, next slide. Cannon Hills, Pele, Shirley, Zach, amazing team there. Also just want to commend everyone doing a lot of deals with our in-house escrow. We simply ask for the opportunity, give these guys an opportunity to earn your business. We've added Zach, maybe a month and a half ago for extra support, extra leverage. Pele, you're there. Anything you want to say? That's Pele. She's amazing. These guys are so committed. I always say escrow in many ways is a very thankless job. All you do, all these guys hear largely, I'm not saying, is complaints, and they don't hear about all the hard work and commitment they make. So thank you, Pele, for your leadership. Awesome. All right, next one. And this will get posted in a day or two, but actually this is August. I posted it. We were a little behind, but we've posted that. So top agents for August, top teams for August. A great congratulations to everyone there. And then for September, which will get posted in another day or two, again, a great group. And what I also love, I mean, there are some common threads, but there's new people all the time, both on the agent piece and the team piece. And it just gets back to how many people are closing deals here. And it always inspires me because, quite frankly, what you see at most other offices is the same people over and over and over again. And here we've just got a lot of people doing a lot of deals, and we've got just an amazing office. So congratulations again. So I'm always want to share where we are, and a little bit behind where I thought we'd be, but that's okay. Got to be transparent and authentic about all of it. This is a lot to process, but I'll help distill it for you. Year to date through September, which is 75% of the year. This is where we are in these metrics: listings taken, closed units, total volume. We've done 1.3 billion already this year. The goal is 2.3. I still believe that there's a good chance we can get there because a couple of our biggest producers have just come on board, including the Suarez team. Even partner CRE, one of our top commercial teams, have really just got the ball rolling, particularly in the commercial world where it takes a lot longer to incubate deals. So we're still barely seeing the fruits of what they've all done. And then profit share. So we are still in the top 20 in profit share for the country. Of all KW offices, 826. We've profit shared just shy of $500,000 relative to the goal of 850, a very aggressive goal. And you can see September of this year, the month we just closed, relative to a very robust September of 2021. We are at, certainly behind. It's definitely a reflection, of the market, but we will continue to focus on what we can control and get our unfair share. So we are, quite frankly, behind in everything relative to our goals, because otherwise we'd be at 75%. That's why it's in red. But we're still having a stellar year, and I continue to see great momentum. So any questions on any of that? I know it's a lot of data and a lot of stuff to process, but okay, awesome. We have a cap commission structure model that I think most of you are aware of. So everyone here has an opportunity to keep 100% of their commission once they pay the cap, and our cap is $42,000. So we are always celebrating, and we have many cappers, and the goal is to get everyone to cap, and that's obviously a choice that you guys make based on your commitment and your action. Kelly Aloise, I don't think Kelly is here. Okay, great job, Kelly. You're awesome. Part of the MS Property Partners team. They're amazing, and they've got just such great people. And Josh Kashani is his birthday. I saw him just a minute ago. He's part of that team as well. So happy birthday, Josh. And we have champagne for Kelly when she gets back. Brian Pincus, I do see Brian here. Brian is such an amazing guy, such a big heart, a great mentor. So he's very engaged as a mentor. Brian's been with us for how long?
2014 January.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So Brian, congratulations. Anything that you'd want to share with the group on how you are as successful as you are? Any words of wisdom?
It's a good question. I think keeping your eye on the ball, as everyone says that, focusing on the micro market is something I always say. I use that term all the time. Just because the headlines are the headlines, and I had someone mention it to me today saying, I know that the market is blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's not, we're depending on the supply and demand in that particular little area. So I just had a deal close in multiples still, and it went way over asking. I had another one where we had to reduce, and it's just keeping your eye on that micro market. It's just based on what's going on in that area.
Yep.
So I think it's, being flexible. And I think the other thing that I always say is, I tell my mentees, don't treat any client as like this is an individual deal. That's a referral source. Once you get through the deal, like that's a long-term game kind of thing. So that way you're not as I got to close this thing. It's like, what's right for this person? I just canceled an escrow. It was the right thing for her. And she's like, now I think I need to raise my price point. I'm like, awesome, great. See where it goes. But
Yeah.
I told
When
her I
you come
want it to be
from
referral
value
source.
and contribution and curiosity, it totally creates abundant opportunity. And sometimes that means taking quote unquote a small step backward in the short term to take a much larger leap forward in the long term.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, there you go.
Awesome, man. Let's
Thank
get a
you.
quick picture.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right.
Great work,
Thank
man.
you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
And Brianna Darby, I don't think Brianna's here, but Brianna's awesome, amazing spirit, always a hustler, single mom with I think 3 kids. She's just a breath of fresh air and a great agent. So congratulations, Brianna. I think we covered it there. Okay, and then we're going to move to our mentees that are graduating. Obviously, you have to, your first 2 deals, you're part of the mentor program, and then you graduate and go on your own or do whatever choice you make, join a team, what have you. So Kristen isn't here, but I want to commend Blake. Congratulations, brother. Yep. How long as an agent?
Like a year.
Okay.
It'll be a year in November, I think, that I
Okay.
started
Okay.
spending time here.
So who's your mentor?
Maxwell, come up
Maxwell,
here.
come on.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So maybe you, before I ask Blake, but any words about Blake?
Blake is the perfect agent, really. He fell into the market at a rate where multiples. He had a very good sphere of influence that trust him and that believe in him. So they constantly were writing, but we were losing offers on like 10 offers on one client. And it was just the persistency, that always telling the clients where we think the market's going to go. It was always up to them to make the decision where it was going to go. And Blake knows how to do marketing. He's on top of his paperwork. I mean, literally, he's my favorite mentee I've ever had. I was just like, wow. And I've had some good ones. I've had good ones, I have to
Yeah.
say. But every day he's like on it, every call. And he also, what I liked about him is he also has a second job and he was living his life. So he's riding bikes and traveling. And so it didn't keep him from being a full person. He just was able to do the work and also enjoy his life, which
Yep.
is what this business is about, is you got to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
and you gotta
Attitude
do-
goes a long way,
Yes,
guys, believe
yes.
me.
And
And I
he's
know
gonna be
how,
so successful.
yes,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. Blake, anything you want to add to
Oh, God. No, I mean, like Maxwell said, like living my life is really important. Like, I feel like I could have maybe done this faster if I dedicated 100 hours a week to it, but I value my time.
yeah, it gets
too.
back to everyone's unique passion and
Yeah.
purpose, right? That it's right for one is not necessarily right for someone else. So
Yes, and he's
Yeah.
in escrow on another deal already.
Yep.
So he's definitely gonna make it.
Yeah.
Again, his sphere of influence really supports him.
Yeah.
They trust him and they support him. We had a couple of conversations with the 3 of us online, but mainly he would relate the message to them and they believed in him, and that's all it's about.
And last comment I want to make too is like many people have great spheres of influence. Doesn't mean they actually tap into them. I hear that so often. Well, I don't want to reach out to my friends. I'm imposing. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, but kudos to you, number one, for having a great sphere that with people that trust you and your willingness to tap into that sphere and them recognizing that you're the vehicle for their success.
Oh, yeah. Anyone that talks about a house, I'm like, ah.
Yep. Yep. So Blake obviously believes in himself and he delivers. And that's the point I'm trying to make.
He's good
Yeah.
at social media.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Instagram is great.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. Let's get a quick
Thank you.
picture. Yep. Great work,
Cool.
Blake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Great
it.
job, man.
Thanks.
Yep. Oh, and well, it's for cappers, I guess, right? Oh, you got this or not? Sorry. I don't. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Make sure I get the right one. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you.
Good stuff, man.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, next, is that? Oh, it's not here. Anyway, Lulu, come on up. Again, awesome job. Congratulations.
Thank
And I'm
you.
guessing Jesse is your mentor. Yeah. Yeah.
That's my
So
forever.
Again, very common denominator of people willing to take action, nothing but positivity and a great attitude. You know, that sounds so simple, but how many people don't, guys? We all can relate to that. And no one's going to want to do business or work with or spend time with someone who doesn't bring good energy, right? And things don't always go our way. We have a choice as to how we respond to that, right? And do we put on the game face? Do we put on the smile? And it becomes, self-fulfilling, and it attracts a lot of other people. And Lulu definitely embodies that. So Jesse, anything you want to?
You nailed it. I mean, her enthusiasm and just is infectious. And I never saw her down or discouraged or anything. It was just an inspiration. So, and we started working together end of January. She was already in escrow by the end of February on her first one after a second offer. And then she just closed on really challenging escrow.
I had
in the desert.
deal and the
So-
deal from Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had both, and it just all through just tenacious negotiator, dedicated to your clients, and you really work your sphere and build your sphere daily, just so naturally. I'm really proud.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And I also have the best mentor that anybody can have. Kristen did amazing job matching us. She's really good at what she's doing. The first day we met, we were like, we understand why we are a team. Jesse was always great. He would answer my text messages, emails, all kind of times of day and night. We had our system how to do it, but he went with me through every step on the way. So we were definitely a great team. And now we are in a team together.
Yeah, love it. It's a team effort. I love it. Yep. Great job, Lulu. Let's take a quick picture over here. Awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Let me give you this. Cool. All right. Are we ready for? So before we, okay, so let's, Serena, why don't I let you just maybe give a,
While you're figuring this out.
Yeah.
I got something to say.
yeah,
So one of the things we're leading, we have a great office, but we're also leading in the highest risk management calls to our attorneys.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Which is not a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
Which, as you know, our E&O insurance has gone up this month, and it's, the rates continue to go up. So we're trying to keep it where it is. But what I need from all of you is, and a lot of you already do it, whenever you think you're getting into an issue, contact me
Proactively. As much as possible.
proactively, because your files are all there, but it's issues that arise during escrow that potentially can cause the problems. So if you've got a question, I know Brian's always reaching out to me. There are people that are really good about reaching out. If not me, call the car legal hotline. They're there. There are attorneys there that will answer. If you want to know if your landlord can evict a tenant, call them. They'll know what the up-to-date rules are, because I don't know everything. A lot of times I'll just Google while you're on the phone and see what the answer is. But the point is to try to mitigate our risk going forward. Before, if you think there's a problem, call me.
Asking for help is a sign of strength.
Yeah, because if we do get into an issue, our deductible is $50,000, which is kind of high. So even though insurance may cover beyond that, we're still responsible, and the agent is responsible for a portion, whatever your split is. So the reality is, let's stay out of litigation. If you got questions, problems, call me.
Yep. Thank you, Michael. Awesome. So real fast, we have Gary Aminoff teaching a class on triple net leases. This is this Friday, and James Suarez, leader of the Suarez team, teaching buyer consultation, both powerful people in their respective areas. And I highly encourage anyone at any level to jump into those classes this Friday. James is at what time, Serena? 9:45, and Gary at 11. So sort of back to back. So encourage everyone to join us for that. Next one. Ignite, John Adams and his partner Nate are teaching Ignite. We're blessed to have these guys. They're arguably way overqualified to teach Ignite, which is nothing but great for all of us. Every Wednesday and Thursday, 2 to 4 p.m. So I don't care what level you're at. I guarantee you'll learn something from John for sure. And then our annual convention is in February. I think it's the 18th. Yeah, I memorized that. To the 21st. And this year it's in Anaheim, which means that I'm just telling you, every single person should be there. It is not inexpensive. It's like $1,200, $1,300 inflation, but it's well worth it in terms of the networking, the education, the training. It's phenomenal. I can tell you that every top Keller Williams agent throughout the nation, bar none, it's non-negotiable, goes to family reunion, and they're not interested in wasting their time or their money. So clearly they're going because they understand the return on their investment they're going to get. So we're doing milestone makers. If you haven't, that email is going to go out tomorrow because we had a meeting on that. That's a contest designed, and the award is going to be tickets to family reunion. So everyone can participate in that. We're dividing the office up into those that are 2 years licensed and less and 2 years licensed and more. And it's basically who takes the most listings and who puts the most deals into escrow and buyer agreements as well, and buyers in escrow. So all the details will be filled in there. So and then today, I guess all the new agents are in. You want to?
Yeah, so we have breakout on the balcony. It's like a Q&A with the new agent, Josh. Even if you're not a new agent but have a question, our staff will be there so you can ask us questions and get more clarity.
Cool.
I was gonna add, for family reunion, it's actually cheaper because you don't really have to pay for a hotel. You can drive back and forth in past years. It's been, in past years, there twice I've been there. And the first time I drove back and forth, it was relatively easy. There was just not traffic early in the morning. So it's actually cheaper to go to the Anaheim convention than it is to fly to Dallas.
Oh,
or
for sure.
To
Yep.
Austin
Yep.
or Phoenix or Orlando or wherever, all the
Yep.
Vegas. But so everyone should go. If
Yep.
you get one bit of information, you're going to get a lot of tidbits. Your head's going to come back and it's going to blow up.
Yeah,
Actually.
just again, guys, it's real simple. You do one extra deal, it's the best return on your investment you could ever make. So just simplify it in that context. So cool. All right, before we go to our special guest real fast, I'm going to turn to Lauren and Brandon on what they're seeing in the market. And if you guys, sorry, I'm always running over.
I'll be 1 minute or
Yep.
less. We're seeing, as we have the last few months, decline in.
Do you want to sit or stand?
And I always like to look, what are those
Okay.
reasons? And it's
Okay, well,
mostly
I'll-
buyer related. They may look at the estimated statement and it's just too much for them to afford. So most of these transactions are buyers than sellers. Sellers obviously just want to sell their house, but we're starting a lot of stubborn sellers at the same time. Going back to what Paul was talking about and Josh, trillions of dollars in equity, I'm starting to see more bridge loans come into play. And the way that works, just so you know, I'll put on my lender's cap now, is with so much equity, a seller could essentially get a bridge loan without really qualifying like a normal loan, buy that property that they want to move into now, use that cash from their house, and it's treated as a cash offer on a new property. And then once they've secured that, they can take their time, sell their house that's going to be empty because they've moved out and you have a nice house to show without them being there. And then they can refi later. So that is a big strategy for a market like this to take advantage of if you want to be creative. And then talk to buyers about locking in the house price and not the payment. It used to be the other way around. We used to say, lock in the payment. Don't worry about the price. Now we want to lock in the price of the house and not the payment. So we have a flyer on my app that has about 20 different ways that you can change the language on that. So let me know if you want to take a look at that.
Love it. Thank you.
All right. Afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Josh.
How are you, Lauren?
Good, good, good. Lauren Goldman with First American Title. So what I am seeing, it is the last quarter. So normally in the last quarter, we see inventory start to wane a little bit, starts to decrease a little bit. People turn their attentions to other things. We're going to slide into Halloween, and then it's going to be Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and so forth. So knowing that is a good time to strike if somebody has motivation. So that's number one today. It used to be where if somebody would give me a price for my house, I'd sell it. I love this 3% fix, so I'm going to buy something today. That's gone. That's off the table. So right now, if you have a good house, it's priced well, there's really no drama to the house, you will get offers. I'm seeing parents co-signing for kids. I'm seeing parents giving more down payment and co-signing for people. I am seeing people who are selling their properties that they have or bought all cash and they've owned these properties 3, 4, 5 years, and let's farm for this. And now they're selling this property because they have their eye on a larger property. Say they sell for 3, 4, 5 mil, and they're buying for 10 and up. They're all cash, so they're taking all the money out of their house. They've made more money in the years since they've owned the property. They've accumulated more stuff. Their families are getting bigger. They want a better school district. They've been eyeing a better neighborhood, and this is the time to strike. There's less competition out there, and there's some softening of pricing. So right now, the big disconnect, right, between what sellers think something is worth and what buyers think something is worth. So that's where we are today. There's rates are what they are. Everybody knows that. So a lot of people do get blown out of the water by payments once they start to digest what they're into this house for. They get cold feet or they just don't qualify. But there's always somebody, if it's a good house, priced well, there's always somebody next in line to buy it. It's LA. The volume has slowed down a little bit, but not that much. So I'm really bullish on it. I think that we're going to have a while you're selling, everybody else goes in the back. Those people come to the front, and be selfish, please, with your time. That's what you have. So work with the people that are motivated to buy or sell. Everybody else right now takes a backseat. And one last thing, if you allow me a few seconds, ULA, there's this new law on the ballot in November. We've spoken about it briefly, but you must know about this. On the November ballot, to tax a transfer tax. If anyone's selling property over $5 million, it's a 4% tax. That's $200,000 right off the table, right? At 5.5% if you sell over 10 million. That's $550,000 right off the table. Should it pass in November, and it will, it'll take effect April 3rd. And in April 3rd, you sell your house over 5 million bucks. That's an additional $200,000 of tax in addition to the transfer tax you will pay, seller. So that's $28,000 in transfer tax plus $200,000 with this new tax. So if you're just squeaking over that 5 mil neighborhood, the investor, basically prices it right there. What kind of finishes am I putting in this? How am I going to price it? The buyer's offer is going to be dependent on this. The seller is not going to accept it depending on this. Those that are on the edge, it's really going to affect the calculus of what we do. So it's called ULA. You must know about it. Get out in front of it. There's links all over the place. CAR and NAR are absent on this thing, but in our world we must know about it, and it's going to be city of LA, and what happens in the city of LA spreads to Santa Monica, Malibu, everywhere else.
Awesome.
So isn't that interesting? So if you're at 4,800,000 and you do a $200,000 better job of negotiating the 5 million, you just cost that seller 200,000. There's a little bit of strategy there. Just be aware of it when you're negotiating around the $5 million mark after November.
Yep.
Before that, that's a great listing tool right now, guys.
Yep.
You got a $5 million property, list today, we gotta get you sold before November.
Yep.
You can make 200,000 instantly.
Yep.
Otherwise, you gotta pay, you gotta $10 million listing, list it now.
Going to affect in April.
List it now.
We are joining, guys, New York City and San Francisco. So welcome to the club.
There's that many stupid people are gonna vote for that?
No, it's the rich that are out. We wanna vote against it.
It's the landlord versus tenant theory. There are much more tenants than landlords. Oh, it'll pass. It'll pass. So just know this and get out ahead of it. The guy selling a $20 million property, that's it. Okay, I don't know what that is. That's like a million something, right?
Yeah.
So that's nobody's going to cry for that person, but but the proverbial, just real quick, the proverbial little old lady who's owned her house forever, who's going to live off this money, right? And it's the kid's inheritance, and you get where I'm going with this. And the market has treated her well through the years, and is just now squeaked over the $5 million mark, and she's going to have to give up $200,000 to the government on April 4th, when she wouldn't have to do it on April 3rd.
Yep. All right. You're awesome, Lauren. Thank you. Steph, quick.
Oh, I have a question for him. How can we get that information? Because that makes me want a door knock.
You want to give this? Do you want to give this to Peter, or that's all?
I have
You
a
don't have
flyer
anything
on
else?
it. I have a flyer. I have a PowerPoint. I have all this stuff. But if you just Google ULA 2022, it's United Housing Los Angeles, ULA 2022. You'll see there's a great Bloomberg article, LA Times. The LA Times is for it. Bloomberg's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then the unions for sure are like, yes, yes, yes.
Both
Uh,
mayors are against it. The ones running, they're actually both against it. So one thing
Be-
they agree on.
Right, because it's for housing homeless, and if you look at the past, what the city council's done with money, they just basically squandered. Like you've read this $800,000 per unit for homeless housing. It's just out of control. They already have a slush fund for this. They want more. If you're going to tax, where do you go to get the money? So this is where they're going.
Yeah.
No, Los Angeles. But trust me, what happens in Los Angeles quickly spreads to the others.
Yeah.
ULA 2022. You'll see everything on it.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren. You're awesome. So thank you guys for being patient. So I'm going to make a very quick intro. This 90% of achievement is mindset. I say that all the time. I firmly believe it. And this guy absolutely like embodies mindset. 3 years as a licensed agent with a goal of 100 million this year. We'll talk about where he is relative to that. The number one agent on the Suarez team, which is the number one Keller Williams team in California. Peter, come on up, man. You're awesome, brother. And this definitely also says a lot about Peter. Also, I got to say this before we let him start to speak. One of the most humble guys I know, and just total leader, which means he gives with no expectation and plays the long game and recognizes that with discipline and consistency, there are limitless opportunities. So you're awesome, man. So why don't we start off by just a little bit about how long you've been in real estate, what got you into real estate, and what were you doing sort of prior to real estate?
Awesome. I would love to do that. Can I do one thing?
Yes,
quick?
of course.
Just to change
And by the way,
the-
so we need to,
Oh,
sorry.
thank you.
yeah.
Just to change the scenery a little bit. I know of us human beings have, of the nice voice that is rooting for us, that wants us to be successful, and the doubt, right? So I just want to share a short little exercise that I do to remove doubt. So if you just want to stand up with me, I would love to do that with you. So just for a second, life is breathing, right? I'm a martial artist and we'll talk more about that. Life is breath. So if you can just close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, try to have it go all the way to the belly and then breathe out. And one more time. Slow things down. Every time things are moving fast, I believe in slowing things down. Next thing I want you to do is put your your arm on your heart and take another deep breath. And now I want you to go back to a moment in your life. It could be a sports competition when you were a kid, when you first learned how to ride a bike, when you became a father, a mother, where you closed that big escrow, went to Bora Bora, whatever it is. Go to that moment in your life when you felt complete joy. And just take you to that moment for a couple of seconds and just relive it in your mind. Feel the joy, feel the excitement in your body, reliving that moment just for a couple more seconds. Slowly, slowly, come back to this moment. Open your eyes, shake it off, and feel that smile. Does anybody want to share real quick, like 10 seconds, how that felt? Relaxed, yeah.
Raise my vibration.
You raise your vibration, yeah. Anybody else? Feel happy.
You have that joyful moment and you still enjoy it.
Exactly, and that's how easy. And that's how easy you can get back to removing doubt. This is something that I use in my everyday life, and we're going to talk more about that. I'm going to introduce myself here shortly, but what is success? And I think one of the most important things about success is feeling joy. And when we feel joy in our lives, it's easy to do everything else. So that was just a little short start. I'll give it back to you.
Yeah. So I love it. And then coming back to, again, mindset, which is where I led this, right? And I'm a huge believer and I'm passionate about that, and build a relationship. You're learning a lot from him about that. Tell us a little bit your background, which I think is very interesting. Not born in the country here. Tell us a little, and then how quick sort of bio on what got you in real estate.
Yeah, I'll try to be pretty quick. I was parents immigrated from Macedonia to Sweden, where I was born and grew up. I was short and chubby, didn't get many friends. Then I got skinny and short, didn't get many friends. The good news was that martial arts, my father is my sensei, and I started falling in love with karate because you had your
We can't hear him. We can't hear him.
The mic is cutting out. We cannot hear him.
for 10 years. I was
There
a
it is,
national
there it
champion
is.
3 times in Sweden. I was a world medalist 2012, November 19. It's 10 years ago now. Was my last competition. I always wanted to end on a good note and move on from a competitor to a martial artist. As a salesperson, I worked in my parents' store since I was 6 years old. I couldn't reach the counter, but I stood on a chair and I helped them out. So I always loved helping people. Before moving to the States, I had my own company. I was doing training with people, and most important, I did public speaking. So I went to businesses, spoke about goal settings, and have a couple of books that I'll give to some of you if you guys want it. I wrote a book. In Sweden, I've written a couple of books. It's about goal setting and how you achieve your goals. Moved to the States, always dreamt about being here, won the green card lottery, got shit scared because my business went very well. And I think this is the life. You get the opportunities when things are going well, when the choice is hard. Had to leave my girlfriend, now wife, to finish her school, move here by myself about 6 or 7 years ago. Didn't really know what to do. So my first job, I went from having public speeches for a big corporation, getting a good salary for 20 minutes of talking, to working in my first job at a gym in Hawthorne for $10 an hour. So I started there, did a couple of different jobs. My last job before going into real estate, I worked with Hestens, a luxury brand for mattresses, a Swedish brand here on Beverly Boulevard. Got to learn and meet with a lot of interesting and successful people. And then my wife said, you love helping people, you love sales, you want to make money, you want to build a good life. So maybe you should start with real estate. And that's where we are today.
Yep. And so you started off with KW and the Suarez team. Tell us a little bit.
So I started with KW Silicon Beach. I got introduced from a guy called Johnny Adot to a guy called the team leader, Mark Gallant. And I started by myself, but I didn't know what to do. I interviewed for a couple of teams. Nobody really wanted, said that you're new, you don't know shit. You can figure that out and then come back. So I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't figure it out. I was in the office. I tried to look busy, but I didn't do shit.
Yeah.
And then
But he did show up and he was in the office.
I was
so
in the
gotta
office. I
say,
was
so he
trying. I was trying, but I didn't know what to do. I was confused. It's like being the first time you go to a gym. You don't know where to start. And so I went to the Ignite class because Mark said, go to Ignite, you learn. And that's where I met James. We started connecting. I interviewed to start on his team. And that was a couple of months in. It was July 5th, 2000. It was 3 years ago. Was that 2019? 2019, yeah. And now I've been there for about 3 years.
First month in the business?
First month, I don't know. I know the first 6 months, or the first 2 months, I didn't do anything. But the last quarter of 2019, I know that I did 8 million in sales because I won a competition on our team and I got to co-list with James. Second year, I set a goal of selling real estate for 30 million. I did not hit that. I hit 20 million.
Second year, not even a full year.
So, but there's only either you achieve your goals or you don't, right? It was still a good accomplishment, but I did not achieve my goals. And I think one thing that I want to tap into, and what a lot of people do when they don't achieve your goals, they start doubting themselves, me, myself included. But I decided instead to raise the bar for what I want to accomplish. So for the next year of 2021, I set a goal to sell real estate for at least 45 million. I don't even know where I got that number from, to be frank, honest with you, but I wrote it down on a piece of paper and I didn't have a clue on how to get there. But as you were, I promised myself, I'm just gonna double down on focusing on the work and don't worry so much about the results. Come end of 2021, I actually did a little bit more than 45. So, and again, it's not about what I did as far as sales in real estate. I think a lot of times in sales of real estate and other things, we always look at what other people are doing, and then we either feel encouraged or discouraged. I think we all have our own journey and our own stories. So I don't want to talk too much about what I have accomplished. I want to be here to share what I have done as far as mindset work and how you can implement that to accomplish whatever that is that you want, because success is different for everybody.
Yep. So tell us a couple, and then I really do want to open up, like, what are some of the things, I guess, first question is, what motivates you? What's your like sort of big why? What's your purpose?
So I think there's many things. I love helping people. I also love creating a good life for me and my family. I think there's something called the immigrant edge, right? I don't have anybody here. I have to make it work. And I want to make it work. I want to create, transformational wealth for me and my family so I can help other people and just be positive and have a good life.
So when you don't feel like it, which we all have times of that, and myself included, what goes through your mind when you're saying, hey, I don't really want to do this, but I know I've got to do it? What gets you doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Josh. And I think if you're a martial artist, there's something called, especially if you're a Japanese martial artist, something called Bushido, which is the way of the warrior. And there's a code, much better than winning a world medal. You actually learn a code about yourself and handling life, which everybody can learn. And one of those codes are when you say something, it's like it's already done. So for me, in my mind, when I decide on doing something, the world doesn't know it, nobody knows about it, but in my mind, it's like it's already done. Do I get there in the time frame that I want all the time? No. Still believe it can happen? Yes. So when I'm not feeling like it, you have to ask yourself, are you a professional or an amateur? Professionals show up every day for themselves and for their family, for their clients, and for the people they love. And I think that's a big difference between amateur and professionals. Professionals always show up, even the bad days, and get shit done.
I love it. Commitment, all in. Like that's like, and and I like that amateur versus professional, which is something I'm going to take when, are you an amateur or is this your profession? Are you a professional? What is your standard? What is your expectation, right? And how much, are you willing to do to make it happen? I know Peter well enough. When he makes that commitment, there are no excuses. He is all in, and success is the only option, right? And he understands that it's all about the daily activities and the decisions that we make to get there. So
I agree with you. And I want to touch on success, because I think I'm trying to redefine success. For people who don't know me, I have a podcast. Josh is going to be out next week. I had
the best he's so good. He interviewed me on Friday.
I had a great time. I get to learn. I've done 292 episodes where I talk to people that know much more than me, and I try to share that with the world. So one of the things that I'm working on redefining and sharing is other people's definition of success, because I think we all get tap into the thing. You see somebody, oh, he's doing 100 million. I want to do that. And then somebody's driving that car. I want to drive that car. Instead of starting inward and ask yourself those questions, what is important to me? What is it that I really want? And I think when most people talk about success, they talk about performance. So I want you to think about that in your life. Success and performance could be the same thing, but it's not always the same thing. And if you take the actions, for example, to become a good competitor in karate or become a great real estate agent that sells a lot of houses, that's performance, which is great. And that's something that we need in our life. But you got to ask yourself, what is success? What does success look like for you? How is that life? And for me, it's joy. I know when I'm joyful, my life is good. And that's something inward that I can affect most of the time, no matter where I am, in my performance.
Right. So success is self-determined. Performance is a much more objective, right? Observation from others, right?
And you'll get performance if you do all the work, but just make sure on the way that you know what success looks like for you, because we see a lot of people, and I've met almost 300 of them that are very successful when it comes to performance. Not all of them have found the recipe.
So what is
for-
success for you in real estate? Because obviously
Yeah.
you're performing, but
Yeah.
what does success look like for you in real estate?
That's a great question. So for me, it's keep growing, keep helping more people, and having an impact on others. That's why for me, I've had a great opportunity to work with James, who have taught me a lot. And now I also want to help the people in my team, the people that I meet, and leave it a little bit better, whatever that might mean. So for me, success, I think, is growth in real estate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at people that we want to model and emulate. What are they doing every day? What are their priorities?
Yeah, I think that life goes in seasons, and I'm almost like a military in a sense. When I decide to do something, I do it very, very well and get very, very specific with the details. And remember, I left my girlfriend and was living here by myself for 5 years. So to live and to be happy when you were so alone, the routines helped me a lot. So I had, great routines. I was waking up for me, 5:40 is the perfect timing. 6:30, I train until 7:30, and then I have coffee with a friend. I start the day positively, and then get to work at 8:30. But talking about it now, I realized that now when my wife moved here, my military routines that I was trying to stick to is not really working because I'm not setting my wife up for a great day. So now I'm pivoting a little bit. We're figuring it out. Some days I still do my military day routine because I'm kind of wired that way. But some days I also realize that going for a walk and having a coffee with my wife sets us both up for, better success. So I think it goes in seasons, depending on where you're in your life.
Yep. So tell us a little bit more on what the rest of that day looks like.
Oh, rest of the day. Yeah. Yeah. Now, we're only at
We're only at 8:30.
Yeah. So
See, I'm focused.
I love it. I love it. Just making it happen. For me, I know in order to reach my goal, I need to meet with 7 people each week. That's my goal. I try to make it as simple as possible.
So I want to come back to that.
Yeah.
Meet with, define that a little bit more. Meet with 7 people. Who are those people? What does meet mean? Like,
it means a buyer, a meeting with a buyer that's looking at a home, or a seller that's looking to sell. All the rest, the networking and having coffee with friends that are selling in 3 years, I don't count that. So
7 people every week.
That's my goal. How do I reach that? For me, it's several ways. And again, going back to that mindset from, being a warrior, it's door knocking, it's cold calling, it's sending out yellow letters, mailers. I have an opportunity. We get a lot of leads from our team as well. So it's a mix of everything that I do, open houses and so forth. But my goal is mainly to make it as simple as possible. If I can meet 7 people each week that are looking to buy and sell, I know that I can reach my goals.
And I got to say this for me personally, I am so focused, and Serena can attest to this. How many recruiting appointments do I have every week? That is absolutely like the key to success for me. The rest takes care of itself, and how I get there can vary considerably, but at the end of the day, that's what I hold myself accountable to. So I can very much relate to what Peter's saying.
Yeah.
So coming back to that, and then this will be my last question for now, a little bit more on what does that lead gen look like to get the 7 appointments? And I know, again, there's seasons, but give us a little bit more on that, because I know a lot of people would love to learn from you on that front.
Of course, it varies, and we're big on our team in taking action, proactive action, because then it comes back to you. We get a lot of, I have to be honest, we get a lot of calls from Zillow. We have a Flex account, which is great. Now it's a little bit less, but those are great, people calling in. But I am not one of those agents who wait for those. Those are bonus for me. When it comes to the actual lead generation, I door knock several days every week.
Do you have a particular farm geography?
I do a lot in Westchester, but I also expanding now, but that's what I do a couple of days a week, about 2 hours. My goal is, I listened to somebody who said, try to hit 100 doors every day and you get more business than you can handle. So I always have that in the back of my mind. Try to hit 100 doors every time I go out. I do not always reach it, but that's my goal. Also, when I do a cold call in a specific area, or if I call for a listing or a buyer, my goal is also to do at least 200 dials, because I know that's what it takes at least to get maybe an appointment. Open houses, my goal every time I go to an open house is to set at least one appointment, preferably with a seller. So that's my mindset when I go to the open house. One appointment, that's what's going to happen. Does it happen all the time? No, but just staying in motion all the time hits me a lot. And if I pull up my notebook, I'll see that most of the weeks I'm doing at least 5 appointments. Some weeks 7, some weeks 8, and so forth.
What is going to help you, or what is helping you now go from 45 million to 100 million? Like what are the key things that need to be a little bit different to continue to elevate?
So I think what we all saw, I'm a new agent. I've been an agent for only 3 years. And I think a lot of us agents who did well during COVID got a sense of, great confidence that it's so easy to sell a house. It's so easy to do deals. But when things change, I'm actually very, very excited for that, because I know people like myself who do the work is going to elevate. So full transparency, when we look at the goal, and I usually don't share my goal that I wanted to do 100 million, was just actually to myself, but
he shared it with me.
I shared it with you and you shared it with this. So I'm gonna be honest and say we're in October now, right? And I have closed 36 million. So I'm way off from where I want to be, right? So how do we get there? And the question is, am I even going to get there? Also, my 5 last escrows have all canceled within the last month. So those are challenges, right? And if you look at all the greats in any given field, I'm not saying that because I feel sorry for myself at all. I've already moved on past from that, because going back to our service, it wasn't the right fit for those clients. It was the right thing to do. It was not the right thing to do for my goal that only I care about, or my wallet, but that's not what this is about. This is about helping clients. So I realized that, but I'm not staying in that game. So what happened a week after that, I signed my biggest listing yet, $10 million listing, which is going to launch in a couple of weeks, which is awesome, right? A guy who's been in the business for 3 years, that's awesome for me. I won another listing for 1.2 last week, and I beat, they emailed 10 agents, they interviewed 3, and then they hired me and my team. And for me, that was the validation. Will it sell? Will it not? What's going to happen? We don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm in this for the long game, just like you said. Will I reach my goal this year? Who knows? In real estate, it can happen. I still believe it will happen. Even if it doesn't, I'm still going to keep pushing forward and reevaluate at the end of the year. But I think what a lot of people are doing, I can give myself so many excuses now to change my goal, right? I can give myself so many excuses to say a lot of bad things about the market, about this and that. Instead, I do something that I started doing a couple of years ago, and that is taking accountability. Everything that happens to me is a lesson I need to learn. Everything that happens to me is my own fault. So that's just coming back to that. I just have more to learn. That's why this is happening to me, and that's great. And I'm grateful for it.
Love that. Questions, thoughts? I can go on and on. I want to, yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Can you talk a little bit about what time? Hi. Yeah. Thanks for everything that you just shared. Can you talk a little bit about your window of time that you're using for door knocking?
Yeah.
And if he finds sometimes they're better than others. I find myself going on the weekend, but it's sort of random who I end up dealing with or being able to talk to.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the best time is when you actually do it. So I try to do it in the morning. Now a lot of people are home with COVID, working from home, and it really doesn't matter because I'm in the action to set my own schedule and I want to get it done. So most of the time it happens in the morning for me, because if I don't do it in the morning, something will happen that, you know, throws me off.
Richard.
You said your goal is to talk to 7 people a week.
To meet
Not-
with 7 people.
Meet with 7, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, what does that entail? Like, how many people do you actually have to go through before you get to that magic goal of 7 a week? You got any idea how many people you go through during that?
Yeah, it's at least 100.
Okay.
I would say for somebody now is starting to get a little, because I've done this since I started. I listened to James, and the first 2 weeks it's changed now. But when I started, in order to be turned on for leads and open houses and stuff like that, I had to have 2 consecutive weeks of 200 contacts. So it's all started there. So I think 100 contacts, which Bold, I think Bold is teaching, is it works perfectly. If you want to do more, I think you should do more if you want to do more business. But it all comes back to how many appointments I do. Some weeks it's less, but it's rarely a week go by that I have less than 100 conversations.
Okay. And just one other thing out of curiosity, when you said you're from Macedonia, was that the Greek Macedonia or the former Yugoslavia?
Former Yugoslavia, right on the border.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's a good question.
Knows geography.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most
Who
people
else?
don't know where it is.
Come on.
What sorts of lead generation do you use? I mean, using the. Where do you get your source of calling? You use Mojo, you use the Bolt. I mean, you use the.
I
There's
use
another
Mojo.
couple of one.
Mojo, and then I knocked doors.
I see. You got 3-line communication, right?
3 lines. Yeah.
3-line on that.
Calling
That
3 at
that
the
works
same
better.
time. Yeah.
What's your average sales price?
I actually did this.
Sorry.
I can pull this up here. So this, I did a exercise for myself this past week because I felt a little disappointed in myself. So I looked at the numbers, and I think it's
By the
good.
way, you notice he writes everything down, accountability, tracking. I mean, that's critical. Seeing it visibly, all this stuff, write it down. It sounds so simple and it's a game changer.
It helps so much. 2019 total 8,899,000, average price point 889,000. 2020 total volume 20,715,000, average price point 1,090,000. 2021 total volume 48,454,000, average price point 1,730,000. Year to date 36,295,000, average price point 1,814,000. So it's going up slowly.
Phenomenal, man. That's inspiring. Pam.
Hi, thanks for sharing. I just wanted to know about the door knocking. Now, since COVID, how's it different? And a lot of people are home, but it just seems to me people be paranoid to answer the door.
They're not, because I knock, and then I take like 15 feet and then I said, hey, my name is Peter with the Saurus team. I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm helping a family look into purchasing this area. Have you had any thoughts of selling? Yes or no? Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for your time. Who do you know that might be interested in selling? Yes or no? Okay, thank you for your time. And then I start going, and while I'm leaving, I say, do you have any real estate goals? Is there anything we can help you with? They say yes or no, and then I go to the next one. I always give them a flyer. Yeah, I have a flyer.
He's nailed it. I mean, see, confidence and purposefulness.
It's different. Right now we're doing, me and James, I did a real estate, like a podcast where we're answering questions. The episodes is what can you do to improve the value of your home? So I give that to them now. Sometimes I give them a market update. Sometimes I give them, you know, a QR code where they can scan to find their value of their home. Sometimes I write them a letter and sharing about my client, what the client is looking for. So I vary.
Okay, so I'm fascinated by the Suarez team for so many reasons, but what's one thing about James that you think we don't know that would surprise us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think he cares a lot. A lot of people when they meet James, they are intimidated because he looks, but he's he has one of the biggest hearts of the. Because like, I'm not saying James has it, but I have a little bit like angry face in a way in my nose because of my martial arts. So sometimes people think I'm angry and I'm not. So give people a chance. Sometimes they could be the kindest and nicest people. So I think for James is that just big heart and caring for helping other people. He really wants the people around him to succeed. And he has, I've never asked for anything. When I started, he said, I believe in you. You have to burn all bridges. So I had to quit my job in order to start working for him and with him. And then I just listened to his guidance and did what he said. I listen, but sometimes I don't listen, if you know what I mean. And that's the athlete. You have to listen to the guidance, but also trust your gut. And that's what I do. And I don't ask for anything, but I receive so much because I come in and give.
Well said.
Hey, Josh, I have a question.
Yes.
Zoom. Hey, Peter, this is Brian. Thanks so much for sharing. So quick question on your listing presentations. Do you bring in like a big listing presentation or do you go in with nothing or a single sheet or is it simple? And the other part of the question is when she's like you said, you might be up against with 2 other big agents. How do you, when you win it, what do you think makes you win it?
Great questions.
That's a great question. So I always bring a CMA. And I also bring them my opinion of the value of their home. I bring our marketing plan and I bring, our marketing plan, the CMA. I always bring the listing agreement. And that's pretty much it, what I bring. And I think this last listing, they were very impressed with the data. I've studied all the data, so know exactly the price per square foot in that. It was a new area, it was Brentwood, and we do most of our listings in Westwood. And I went, a lot of times I go with James on a listing appointment, he helps me and he does most of the talking. This one I did all by myself. With coaching and guidance, of course, and training and all of that, but I was able to put everything together. And I think for me, it is connecting with people and sharing with them the data, exactly what's going on in the market. And also what I did, I guided them on what to do. And I think I missed that a couple of times. I kind of was waiting for what they said, but now I listen and say, hey, we can do however you want as far as pricing, but this is what I recommend based on the data that is going on right now. And I think
is that recommendation that you're talking about with respect to pricing or prepper? Okay.
Price, preparation, but I think mainly most sellers, the price is a big concern to many. So I think that was, he didn't fully listen to me, but he did almost listen to me, which was good.
Which comes back to like having confidence, having the data. They're far more apt to listen when they know that you're prepared and you're confident, you know?
Yeah.
And that's all how we project ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Great questions, Brian.
Oh,
In the interest
thanks,
of time,
Peter.
go one more question. Go ahead. Someone on Zoom? Oh. Who else? Serena, you're gonna say something?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, before we, are we about to finish up? So before we leave, I just wanna share 2 things with you. I have 5 books that I'm willing to give away to somebody that is interested in reading them. So after the class, you can just come forward to me. If it's more that comes forward, it's also on Amazon, or if you can't afford it on Amazon, just send me an email and I'll send you the online version that you can read it on your iPad. So I'll be happy to give it to anybody that actually wants to read it. It's a step-by-step guide on how to set goals in the different areas of life and how to get there. And it's quite simple. Another thing before we leave and before we end today, I do believe that the universe that we have had here today in this great moment have actually shared something with each and every one of you. So if I were you, I would look under the share and see if there's a message or something for you.
You're awesome.
Yeah, awesome. That's it. Thank you so much.
You're awesome, brother.
Thank you so much for
Big applause for Peter.
You're great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I
Thank you
got
so much.
I'll let these guys bombard you. Thank
And
you
I
so
am
much.
your bookworm, so I
Yeah,
will take a book.
of course.
I'm always reading.
Yeah, of course. Please let me know how it goes.